everyone, a very good afternoon to all of you. So on Saturday, we started with what are the different types of contract. The first type, that is on the basis of validity, we started the discussion on Saturday. Okay, so let's continue with the different types of contract. The first type that we have already seen was valid contract. What do you mean by valid contract? Valid contract is such a contract which fulfills all the essential elements of a valid contract stated under section 10 as well as which are not stated under section 10 but are considered important. So in all, a contract which fulfills all the 11 elements is said to be a valid contract. Next, we just started with what do you mean by a void contract. So, as I told you on Saturday as well, that for understanding a void contract, you need to understand what do you mean by void agreement. So, void agreement means such agreement which is, we can say, invalid since the beginning. Since the day you made the agreement, it was invalid only. It did not have any enforceability in the eyes of law. म्हणजे day one पासून त्याला कोणत्याही टाईपची लीगल एन्फोर्सिबिलिटी नव्हती. डे वन पासूनच ते agreement we will say was invalid only. It is called as a void agreement. Now whenever I am telling you anything extra मध्ये तुम्हाला काही लिहायचं असेल, immediately you can even pen it down in Marathi as well. You can even write, okay, ज्या agreementला day one पासून legal enforceability नाही आहे, it is called as a void agreement. त्या दिवशी we saw many examples as well, agreement with a minor, agreement to murder someone, agreement to do a robbery, agreement with an unsound mind person, agreement to do an impossible activity, etc, etc, etc. All are called as void agreements. Okay, so void agreements म्हणजे totally invalid. इथं तुम्हाला एक second thought द्यायची गरज पण नाहीये. Day one पासूनच these agreements are totally invalid. Then now coming to our important one, and that is void contract. So what do you mean by void contract? Void contract is such a contract कि day one light was perfectly good. Day one light was perfectly valid. But later on, due to some uncertainties, it turns to be, we can say, the performance turns to be impossible. And that is why it is called as void contract. Okay, for that we will see one example so that you get a better clarity of it. Okay, so everyone please write the example with me. Void contract. This example is also going to be with us always. जिथं जिथं मला void contract explain करायचे, maybe immediately I'll tell you, okay, take this example which we have already done in unit number 1. Okay, so let's say there were two parties. Okay, one side the seller, other side the buyer. One side the seller, other side the buyer. They both entered into a contract. They both entered into a contract for purchase and sale of a house which was worth 50 lakh rupees. Okay, they both entered into a contract for purchase and sale of house which was worth 50 lakh rupees. Do you feel there is, anything illegal here or any impossibility here? No. Why? Because this was the house which belonged to person A, and this person B wants to purchase this house for 50 lakh. A told, I will give you the house, I will give you the possession of the house. B said, okay, in return, I will give you 50 lakh rupees. Totally a valid contract. Yes or no, everyone? Totally valid. म्हणजे ज्या दिवशी, let's say, they both entered into a contract, the contract date was first, the contract date is 1st of January 2024. Do you feel that it is invalid or something? Obviously no, it is totally a valid contract. Okay, ज्या दिवशी या दोघांनी कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट केलं, द कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट डेट 1st of January 2024, totally this contract was a valid contract. Okay, now let's see what happened next. Okay, contract तर केलं 1st Janला, but obviously it is a very big procedure, you know, to give the possession of the house. So what Mr. A said, कि we will enter into contract today. I will, you know, I will keep this house only for you. I'll reserve this house for you, but we will perform after 30 days. So performance date was 31st of January 2024. की ठीक आहे, मी तोपर्यंत पूर्ण प्रोसिजर कंप्लीट करून घेतो, सगळे डॉक्युमेंटेशन कंप्लीट करून देतो. आज आपण दोघंजण कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट करूया. 31st Janला ॲक्च्युअल मध्ये आय विल ट्रान्सफर द पोझेशन ऑफ द हाऊस टू यू. इज इट व्हेरी क्लिअर? येस. त्याचबरोबर एनी बीला काय सांगितलं, इफ हा हाऊस तुझ्यासाठी बुक म्हणून ठेवायचा असेल, यू शुड गिव्ह मी सम टोकन अमाऊंट. ओके, सो बी give me advance of rupees 5 lakhs as a booking amount. Okay, booking amount म्हणून मला 5 लाख रुपीज दे. हा घर होल अँड सोल तुझ्यासाठी मी रिझर्व ठेवणार. 30 डेज मध्ये पूर्ण प्रोसिजर मी कंप्लीट करून घेणार डॉक्युमेंटेशनची. 31st ला द हाऊस इज युअर्स. Totally a very good contract, totally a valid contract, which is fulfilling all the essential elements of a valid contract. Is it very clear? Yes. Till here, till what I have told you, इथपर्यंत it was totally a valid contract. Till here, this was totally a valid contract. Okay. Now see what happened next. On 20th of January 2024, okay, on 20th of January 2024, some uncertainty takes place. Okay, and fire catches the house. And fire catches the house. हा सेम हाऊस ज्याच्यासाठी ए आणि बी या दोघांनी कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट केलेलं, fire catches this particular house only. Now tell me, can they perform this contract? Can A and B still perform the contract? We will say no. Obviously, we cannot perform the contract. Why? Due to destruction of subject matter. ज्या कारणासाठी आम्ही कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट करत होतो, आज that particular subject matter only has been destroyed. So what has happened? Destruction of subject matter. Now, is it possible to perform? Totally, it is an impossible activity. जी गोष्टच आज एक्झिस्टन्स मध्ये नाहीये, ते तुम्ही सेल कसं करणार? सो अगेन वी विल से, जे आमचं एसेन्शियल एलिमेंट्स मधला एक एलिमेंट म्हणत होता, द कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट मस्ट बी पॉसिबल टू परफॉर्म. नाव आय विल से दिस कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट हॅज बिकम इम्पॉसिबल टू परफॉर्म. This contract has become impossible to perform. Am I right, everyone? So, the contract which is valid when it is made on 1st of January, the contract was valid when it was made. But due to some uncertainties which took place on 20th of January, that is fire caught the house, now I'll say it has become impossible to perform, and this type of contract is called as This is called as void contract. This type of contract is called as void contract. Okay, now read again what we wrote on Saturday. Initially the performance of the contract is possible. Initially kadi? On 1st of Jan. On 1st of Jan, it was possible to perform, but later on, due to some uncertainties काय है? Fire catches the house. The performance becomes impossible. It is called as a void contract. Very clear with this, everyone? Yes, very clear with it. Okay, I hope you have written with me. If not, I'll just go on scrolling. तुमचं काय राहिलं असेल तर तेवढं फक्त लिहून घ्या. I'll wait for a minute. If anything is remaining, you just write it down fast. Void contracts are not enforceable by law. Okay, so to sum up, okay, we will draw one table. On 1st January 2024, the contract was possible to perform. On 1st January 2024, the contract was possible to perform. Therefore, it was a valid contract. On 20th of January 2024, fire catches the house. Became impossible to perform. Therefore, it is a void contract, not enforceable by law. And therefore not enforceable by law. Very clear with this, everyone? Yes. Now I know, I'm so sure कि you might be thinking what has happened जर तुम्ही एवढं लक्ष दिलं असेल तर obviously. So now you might be thinking what has happened to this 5 lakh rupees which Mr. B gave to Mr. A, जे advance B नी A ला दिलेलं, okay, to book this house as the down payment, you can say the booking amount, you can say. What happened to this 5 lakh rupees? हाऊस तर गेलेलंच आहे, ठीक आहे, चला मी आता राहिलेले 45 लाख तर देणारच नाही. बट व्हॉट विल हॅपन टू दिस 5 lakh rupees? थिंक एन आन्सर. ओके, यू कॅन try to give me the answer that what will happen to the 5 lakh rupees which Mr. B has given to Mr. A as the booking amount. Thinking of any answer? Yes? So the answer is, in this case, the 5 lakh rupees that B has given to Mr. A as booking amount, Mr. A has to restore back the benefits in case of void contract. Void contractच्या केसमध्ये जे पण बेनिफिट्स तुम्हाला या कॉन्ट्रॅक्टच्या आत मिळतात, ओके, बट तुम्ही ते परफॉर्म नाही करू शकला बिकॉज ऑफ सम अनसर्टनिटीज विच वॉज आउटसाइड आवर कंट्रोल. आमच्या कंट्रोलमध्ये नव्हते ते अनसर्टनिटीज, टोटली आउटसाइड आवर कंट्रोल. इन दिस केस, whoever is getting benefits under the contract has to restore back, has to return back the benefits from whom it were received. So in this case, Mr. A, you have to give back 5 lakh rupees to Mr. B because now you are not going to perform this contract. Is it very clear? Yes. So just write down one more thing. In case of void contract, in case of void contract, all the benefits must be restored back from whom it was received. That is, Mr. A has to give rupees 5 lakhs to Mr. B. Mr. A has to give rupees 5 lakhs to Mr. B. This concept is called as restoration. This concept is called as restoration or restitution of benefits. This is called as restoration or restoration or restitution of benefits. This is called as restoration or restitution of benefits. Clear with this, everyone? Yes? Am I very 100% clear? So now, if you have to write the difference between void agreement and void contract, can you write it? Yes? So next, I hope you all have written. Next, draw a table. One side write down void agreement. Void agreement. And the other side write down void contract. And the other side write down void contract. So what is void agreement? Void agreement, it is void ab initio. What is the problem today? void contract. For void contract you will say it is initially a valid contract. It is initially a valid contract, but later on, due to some uncertainties, it becomes a void contract. But later on, due to some uncertainties, it becomes a void contract. Point number 2. Restitution of benefits. Restitution of benefits may or may not be allowed. You can just write down restitution of benefits may or may not be allowed. May or may not be allowed. But in case of void contract, restitution of benefits is allowed. Restitution of benefits is allowed. Void agreement च्या केस मध्ये the court will decide what has to be done. We don't know, it will depend from case to case. 99% of the case मध्ये restitution of benefits is not done in case of void agreement. Okay, only in some cases, okay, I'll discuss those cases with you. Only in some particular cases the court can allow restitution of benefits. Rest in other cases restitution is not done. But void contract मध्ये restitution is always done. Very clear with this, everyone? Yes? Okay. Coming to your books. Void contract. A void contract which ceases. Ceases म्हणजे काय? What do you mean by to cease? Ceases. Just a minute. Okay. Ceases to stop. Ceases to stop. So void contract is a contract which stops to be enforceable by law, becomes void when it ceases to be enforceable. कधी void होणार? ज्या दिवशी त्याची enforceability becomes impossible. म्हणजे आपल्या एक्झाम्पल मध्ये 20th of January ला it becomes a void contract. 1st January it is totally a valid contract. 20th of January it becomes a void contract. Thus a void contract is one which cannot be enforced by the court of law. त्याला काय enforceabilityच नाहीये. Example, X agrees to write a book with the publisher. Such contract is valid. But after few days X dies in an accident. त्या दिवशी कोणीतरी मला डेथ पण सांगितलेली. Yes, death is also one of a reason की कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट करताना दोन्ही पार्टीज वर अलाइव्ह. अनफॉर्च्युनेटली परफॉर्मन्सच्या आधी जर एखाद्याची डेथ जर झाली, now we cannot perform the contract. Why? How can I perform a contract with a person who has already died? Okay, so this again becomes impossible to perform. Here the contract becomes void due to impossibility of performance of the contract. Thus a valid contract that cannot be performed due to some uncalled happening. Uncalled म्हणजे काय? एकदम अचानक आले, आम्हाला माहिती नव्हतं की असं काय होणार आहे. It becomes void. Second, A contracts with B for the supply of 10 tons of sugar. But before the supply is effected, 1st January la they made a contract, 30th of June la they were going to supply. Fire catches the factory and everything was destroyed. This contract also becomes a void contract. It may be added by way of clarification here that when a contract is void, it is not a contract at all. But for the purpose of identifying it, it is called as void contract. Obviously, impossible to perform जर झालं तर ते व्हॅलिड कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट तर आता नाहीच आहे. बट काहीतरी त्याला वेगळं आयडेंटिफाय करायला पाहिजे. दॅट इज वाय वी हॅव आयडेंटिफाईड इट ॲज अ void contract. ॲक्च्युअलमध्ये तर इट इज नॉट कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट ओनली. But to identify it separately, we tell that it is a void contract. Okay. Coming to our third type, that is voidable contract. So write it very fast in your books. Voidable contract. Very, very, very interesting type. Voidable contract. Okay, what do you understand from this word voidable contract? Yes, what do you understand from this word? From this word I understand one thing, की तर दोन गोष्टी आहे. एक तर आहे void and the other is able. Yes, there are two words here. Void पण आहे, able पण आहे. Okay, so what meaning can I generate here? Such contract which is able to be void. Such contract which is able to be void म्हणजे तुम्हाला void करायचं आहे, तुम्ही या कॉन्ट्रॅक्टला void पण करू शकताय. इट इज कॉल्ड ॲज अ voidable contract. म्हणजे पार्टीज आम्ही तुमच्या हातात हा डिसिजन देताय की तुम्हाला काय करायचंय, तुम्हाला void करायचंय. इट इज बिकॉज इट इज एबल टू बी void. डू यू वॉन्ट टू ट्रीट इट एज void or do you want to treat it as valid is totally in the hand of one party. It is called as voidable contract. ओके, आता हे कसं शक्य आहे की एका पार्टीच्या हातात आम्ही पूर्णपणे अधिकार दिले की पार्टी तुम्हाला काय करायचं आहे, व्हॅलिडिटी द्यायची, व्हॅलिडिटी द्या. तुम्हाला याला void ट्रीट करायचं, तुम्ही याला void पण ट्रीट करू शकताय. इट इज कॉल्ड एज such contract which is able to be void in the hands of one party and not in the hands of the other party. Okay, so the definition is such contract which can or cannot be enforced. Such contract which can or cannot be enforced by the aggrieved party. Just wait a minute. Such contract which can or cannot be enforced at the option of the aggrieved party but not at the option of benefited party is called as voidable contract. Such contract which either can be enforced or it cannot be enforced at the option of the aggrieved party but not at the option of the benefited party, is called as a voidable contract. Now think for a minute, close your eyes, think for a minute, where did you come across these words? कुठं तरी वर्ड्स ऐकल्यासारखं मला तरी वाटत. आय डोंट नो व्हॉट यू फील. डू यू थिंक यू हॅव रेड दिस वर्ड्स एनिवेअर? Yes, think fast. So, we have read this word somewhere under the topic not free consent. जिथं parties तुमचं consent was not free consent, तिथं we came across these parties. बरोबर? तिथं आम्ही असे पार्टीज बघितले की एक पार्टी बेनिफिटेड आहे, नाना पाटेकर यू आर बेनिफिटेड पार्टी, तर बिचारा अक्षय कुमार अग्रीव्ड पार्टी, टीचर द बेनिफिटेड पार्टी, स्टुडंट्स द अग्रीव्ड पार्टी. येस, हेमा मालिनी द बेनिफिटेड पार्टी, बिचारी आलिया भट्ट द अग्रीव्ड पार्टी. सो वेर डिड वी कम अक्रॉस दीज वर्ड्स? अंडर कोercion, undue influence, fraud and misrepresentation. Don't write a mistake here. Mistakeचा इफेक्ट टोटली डिफरंट आहे. इट इज नॉट अवॉइडेबल. ओके, मिस्टेकचा इफेक्ट वेगळा होतो, हे असा सेम होणार नाहीये. सो डोंट राईट मिस्टेक हिअर. ओके, सो नाव टू अगेन ब्रिंग अ क्लॅरिटी. ओके, वॉइडेबल कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट म्हणजे असा कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट जो एन्फोर्स करायचा की नाही करायचा. इट इज इन दी हँड्स ऑफ द अग्रीव्ड पार्टी म्हणजे अक्षय कुमार, यू माय स्टुडंट्स, आलिया भट्ट ह्यांच्या हातात आहे की ह्या कॉन्ट्रॅक्टला व्हॅलिडिटी द्यायची आहे म्हणजे एन्फोर्स करायचं आहे की ह्याला एन्फोर्स करायचं नाही आहे. टोटली इन दी हँड्स ऑफ दी अग्रीव्ड पार्टी. बट बेनिफिटेड पार्टी तुम्हाला कोणतेही अधिकार नाही आहे. ऑलरेडी यू नो यू आर फुलिंग द अदर पार्टी. तुमच्यामुळं समोरची पार्टी लॉसमध्ये जात आहे. बेनिफिटेड पार्टी तुम्हाला तर आम्ही कोणतेही अधिकार देत नाही आहे. जे पण अधिकार आहे ते फक्त अग्रीव्ड पार्टीलाच मिळणार आहे. ओके, सो लेट्स सी द एक्झाम्पल ऑफ कोercion. कोercion मध्ये आपण काय बघितलेलं? व्हॉट डिड वी सी इन कोercion? की देर आर टू पार्टीज, राइट?